Hey everybody, it's your girl Success, and it is that time of the week again, and we are out here in this humid weather. I'm hating it, but at the same time, what can I say? It's not snowing, and that's okay with me. So today I have a special guest.
Hey everybody.
And for those of you who don't know, this is David. This is my husband David. And he's on here today because he is my biggest fan, first of all, regarding the things that I write. And I've been talking about the book Before I Do and After for a few weeks now. And he's been following the videos because he's one of my biggest fans again. And so in just going through the chapters thus far, he's watched it, and then we've had discussions about, the videos that I've done. And, even though I wrote the book, every time I read it, I learn something new,
Absolutely.
which I love about the book, because every time you read it, you can get something new out of it. Would you say the same?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So David, I started the interviews, actually, not interviews, the videos in regards to the book, basically out of a conversation that I had with David, where he actually wanted to come and do an interview with me. And at the time, I don't believe or feel as though he was in a good place, or in a place where he wanted to be as open as I wanted him to be, so that we can actually have an interview and make it something that was worthwhile in regards to encouraging or even ministering to you guys. And so I believe that as a result of maybe the videos, watching the videos, or even talking to him, that maybe, he was more open to coming and having this interview with me today.
Can I interject?
Absolutely.
The reason why she said that, I'm a very private person.
Yes.
And it's taken a lot for me to come this far, and I'm going to be as open as possible. But I think that's one of the reasons why we took so long to make this video.
Okay. So I'm going to try to be specific with my questions. So I will say that even us sitting here today is huge. It's huge in that we have been able to communicate better over the past few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say that's...
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I say that, and again, we're sharing not because he's private. I'm very open, so we're kind of opposites in that. My life is an open book, literally.
Absolutely.
But we're sharing not to air our laundry, not to satisfy people's curiosity per se, but because we've been through some things and we've learned some things, and we both know that it will be a blessing to others.
body.
Because even outside of doing videos and you guys seeing me on social media, I'm still ministering to people. You're still ministering to people. I mean, our lives, our testimony to others,
Absolutely.
our lives are a reflection of what God is doing in our lives. And so I'm using his phone to get my questions, and it keeps going off on me. Anyway, so that's why we're doing this video here today.
Okay.
And so with that said, David, I'll say this. We are both different people now, today, than we were 3 years ago.
Absolutely.
2 years ago. I'll even say for myself 1 week ago, because I'm constantly, trying to search myself, evaluate myself, and, grow. So with that said, in regards to where you are, and I don't mean job-wise, but in regards to where you are as a person, what you've learned, how are you different and seeing things in a different light in regards to this relationship now than where you were 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago?
There's a couple of things. First, me being by myself for this amount of time and seeking help on the outside, I've learned to keep my emotions in check. I wouldn't say that I'm highly emotional, but I am a aggressive person.
Let's keep it real, right? Let's keep it real.
I'm an aggressive person. I've always been. I believe the Lord's used that to work in ministry with men. And in being aggressive like that, you become emotional. I
Can I please stop you there?
Sure.
I like the fact that he actually said that. And I want to piggyback on that in that the aggressiveness that you talk about, David has a past.
I do.
Do you believe that, I don't know if you want to share any of that, but do you believe that that past has anything to do with the aggression that you had?
Absolutely. My past she's talking about, I was in the world in drugs, alcohol, that whole world. I was dealing that type stuff, and my aggression worked for me. I also come from a background in my family that wasn't the best atmosphere, and I had to be aggressive to survive. I thought I had a handle on that when I came to Christ, but obviously I didn't.
So, because we could just talk about this. You said you have a handle on it or a grip on it now because you actually saw it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because while we were in it, did you actually see it? Did you recognize it for such?
Well, I think that no, sometimes you're blinded by what you believe is right. Okay,
Yeah.
what you believe is right. You're looking at the other person, always looking at the other person, and you're wrong. So now you're right. So whatever happens, happens. Sometimes you're blinded by your thoughts. So to answer your question, no.
Okay, so how did that play into us?
Well, I think that again, I said I was working on aggression and insecurity, and I just handled situations wrong. I handled situations aggressively in some cases, and I have nothing else to say. I just I
Okay.
handled situations wrong.
Okay.
What more do you want me to say?
Okay, so that was then, and you're saying that now you have a handle on it, or what is your outlook now, I guess?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think, again, through seeking counseling and so forth and so on, a couple of things is just really handling and knowing when I get to a point of anger. The other thing is just dealing with my emotions and then keeping it real. One of the things that I used to do with you, I would just hold things in and hold things in and hold things in, and then
Explode.
yeah,
Oh, that's that whole passive aggressive thing
yeah,
that he tells me about.
yeah. But now I'm a person. I just keep it real. If I'm not feeling it, if I'm not feeling somebody, if I'm not feeling her, I just tell her, hey, listen, I'm okay now, and I'll talk to you later. I just became starting to be real with myself and my feelings and taking me first.
I like that. I like the concept of being real with your feelings. Because I talked about this before in regards to feelings and how, our feelings then dictate how we behave and how that could be very detrimental depending on the feelings. If they're negative, then yeah, it's going to have a negative outcome. You guys like the chimes in the background? It's amazing. Anyway, your phone went out again.
Go ahead.
So in regards to, let's talk about my response then, I would say, to what he just said in regards to what I saw or my perspective. Because I know there are people out there, and it was really big for him to say that's really cool. I'm like, yes, he's actually putting this out here. And so, again, this is not to air anything, but is to hopefully help anyone out there that may be experiencing the same thing or may need to come to terms with, I might have an issue with aggression. So in regards to my take on it, because he always says there's 3 sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
He says there's 3 sides to every story: yours, mine, and the truth.
It's somewhere in the middle.
And the truth is somewhere in the middle. I don't like that concept, but let's go with it. So the sun is coming out, guys, and it's coming out on the wrong side of the video, but that's okay. We're gonna deal with this for now. So in regards to how I dealt with things, Wow, I haven't thought about this in a while. So, how I dealt with things in regards to aggression. So let me just say this, which people don't seem to understand. When David and I met, which next week would be 9 years.
10.
No, it's 9. 9 years. Actually, I'm going to turn the camera. Hold on, guys. Hold on. I wouldn't normally do this, but it needs to be done. Okay. So, when David and I met, July 24th of 2010, I know this because my son died the next day, which was July 25th, and it will be 9 years next week. So I was in a place where I was coming out of 4 years of not being in a relationship. It was just me and the Lord, me seeking the Lord for, just to be in a better place myself and just to learn from the Lord, and et cetera, et cetera. So when I got to the place where I was ready to be in a relationship again, because it had been 4 years, I was like, okay, God, send me whoever you have for me. And I wasn't studying David at the time. I wasn't.
Absolutely not.
At all, because I wasn't really looking, I wasn't really interested. I had just put that out there to the Lord, that you could send me whoever, whenever. And so when Dre died, and David came to mind in the sense that I had prayed, and I was like, okay, God, it would be nice to have someone, who was here in the flesh. I said, I know you're here with me. I know you love me, Lord, and I know you're, my strength, etc. But it would have been nice. And so at the time, we were at a softball game the day before Dre died when I had met David. And he was on the opposing team, and I was giving them grief, and I was talking all this smack. And he would say, success, you're in my head, success, you're in my head. And so during this week of learning that Dre died, and during the rest of the week to the Sunday, before I went to church, I was like, Lord, I heard the Lord let me know in His way that I believe it was David, right? And so that Sunday, and he didn't even go to my church. He said he did.
I did.
No,
I did.
No.
Believe me, I did.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He said,
We're being honest here, right?
listen, I was an usher in the church, and
Because
I
you
knew
weren't
everyone that
studying
came
me.
through
Why
the doors. And
I don't.
he was like, yeah, okay, so whatever. So all of a sudden, on this particular Sunday, I'm in the front row where I always sit, and on this particular Sunday, all of a sudden, he comes up to the altar to give his offering, and I'm like, he's here, right? Like, never saw him before in my life at the church. And so, as you know,
Never noticed me before.
whatever. And anyway, so as he's walking back to the back of the church, I turned around and he's like taking his time, like dragging his feet, getting to the back of the
She's
church.
so dramatic.
I'm dramatic, but like getting back to the back of the church, and I'm like, and I turned around and I said, okay. So when church was over, which was right after that, and I got up and I walked to the back, he was back there waiting, and
I was waiting. That's true.
yeah, he was waiting, and he asked me out
sweating.
for a cup of coffee. Oh my God, it's hot all of a sudden.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to move in a minute. He asked me out for a cup of coffee, and what did I say?
You don't drink coffee.
I did. I said, I don't drink coffee, but I drink hot chocolate, I said.
Yeah.
Hot chocolate. And he's like, that's all right. And then so I walked out with him, and he wanted to give me his business card, and so that I could get in touch with him. And I think he did that on purpose, where he gave me his business card.
No, no.
And the card said, what did the card say?
Pastor David Smith,
And I was
Executive
like-
Director of Pivot Ministries.
And I was like, I did this. I was like, really? Like, just like that. I was like, really, God? And so anyway, that's a little bit about how we met. And I will say this, that people don't agree, and I'm okay with that. But I believe that David is the one that God sent for me. But I will also say this, that even when God has someone for you, it is really your choice Would you agree?
I don't
Two-
know. I have to finish. I'm going to have
Okay,
you finish.
okay.
Because I'm not going to agree.
Okay, so that's fine. But,
Go ahead. Keep
okay,
on going.
but-
Finish.
Okay, so God can have a plan for your life, right? I think, matter of fact, God has a plan for all of our lives. So let's go with that. Let's go with that.
I agree
so
with
God
that.
has a plan for all of our lives.
I agree with that.
But whether or not we are on the path or we stay on the path, that is set up for us on this plan that God has for our life is really our choice.
Yeah.
Because we have a tendency we can either accept God's will for our lives, we can accept the path that God has for our lives and the plans that he has for our lives and go on that road and that journey, or we can venture off, or we can never get on the path. Would you agree to that?
It's called free will, yeah.
Yeah, it's called free, right.
And I think men could throw a wrench into God's plan because of their free will.
Okay, so then in saying that, let me go back to this. I believed and agreed that God had, sent David as the one for me, and I accepted that. However, again, as my sister taught me, she's like, God can have someone for you, but it's really up to you. Okay, my phone